We hear it a lot from President Trump, grievances. It makes you wonder when we look ahead to next week's Republican convention when President Trump will accept the nomination from the White House. Let's first listen to what he said Thursday in that key battleground state, my home state, Pennsylvania. It's a preview of what's to come.
If you want a vision of your life under Biden presidency, think of the smoldering ruins in Minneapolis, the violent anarchy of Portland, the blood-stained sidewalks of Chicago, and imagine the mayhem coming to your town and every single town in America.
Hallie, I asked you about the convention and the GOP side earlier in our discussion, but as you look ahead and talk to your sources, to Phil's point, is it going to be a litany of grievances and fights in terms of the message next week?
Listen, again, you have advisors who are saying it is going to be sort of an uplifting look, an optimistic look at what the president's vision is for the next 4 years. But frankly, Bob, and candidly, that is belied when you look at the people that will be involved in the convention, people who are at the center of some of the most controversial cultural moments over the past couple of years, including, for example, the McCloskeys, the couple in St. Louis who went viral in that moment when they, as you remember, pulled a weapon on a group of Black Lives Matter protesters in St. Louis. It is that kind of theme that we're going to see several nights over the next week. At the same time, you also have the president who is extremely focused on the optics of this. So it's about as much what he says as how he says it. And you know as well as anybody, Bob, this is a president who is focused on that, on the lighting and the angles and the TV production element of it. He is a reality TV president, and this is almost unlike any other convention, right? Because of the setting and because it is virtual, a TV convention in a very different way than we've ever seen it before. Because of the president's reluctance to scrap that in-person convention, he sort of waited right up until the last minute to do that. The RNC has had less time to plan for some of these virtual elements than the DNC, Bob. It's partly why you're going to see more live speeches, and that is also because the president wants that element of surprise. He wants to keep people captivated. He wants to keep the audience sort of engaged. Advisors are hinting at plenty of surprise speakers along the way as well.
Molly, when Republicans hear all that, and from Hallie's reporting, what do they say to you? Are they embracing this approach?
Well, they don't really have a choice, right? This is Donald Trump's party, and it's a pretty perfect metaphor for where the two parties stand, that the Democrats have had this elaborately orchestrated, impeccably choreographed, planned for months to be virtual from the very start, once events started getting canceled around the country, whereas the Republican Party, their plan has been from day one, well, we're going to do what the president feels like. And that has changed according to not only the president's whims, but of course the need to accept reality when it comes to COVID. So they have, as Hallie said, a much bigger logistical challenge because they have had less time to plan. And I think Republicans have already been feeling a bit fatalistic about their chances in this election, at least the ones who live in the reality-based community. And they're pretty apprehensive about this convention as well, because you never know exactly what Trump is going to say, and because he has never been comfortable in that register of optimism. He's always been more focused on fear and on, you know, this theme of anarchists and rioters in the streets and convincing people that a vote for his opponent would be unsafe. So I think a lot of my Republican friends, at least, are not exactly looking forward to what's going to come in the week ahead.
Yamiche, what's in your notebook?
Well, I'm watching for exactly what Hallie said and what Hallie's reporting, which is this idea that if you talk to advisors from the president, they will tell you that he is going to look hopeful, that he's going to talk about the economy, that he's going to talk about turning a corner after the pandemic. But President Trump, as Molly said, lives in this ecosystem where he likes to talk about fear, where he likes to talk about cultural division. It's where he's thrived. It's how he's kept his base close to him. This week, I was so struck by when he was in Scranton, Pennsylvania, he said they will cancel you. They want to cancel your way of life. They want to punish you for speaking your mind and your family. The president's really trying to make people scared. And he's saying that everywhere in America is going to turn into the blood-stained streets of Chicago. So he's really hoping and counting on the fact that people will be scared enough to either mail in their ballots or show up in person for him. So I'm really going to be interested in see if he can ever turn that corner to try to have a little bit of hope and a little bit of optimism. But I should say that Democrats had, while maybe sounding more hopeful, they did have the same thing, saying that it was a life and death election, that this was not like anything else that we've seen in our lifetime.
And Phil, what's the strategy here inside the White House, inside the Trump campaign?
Well, the strategy, Bob, is to build some momentum for the president. He has been behind Joe Biden for months now in virtually all of the polls. If the election were held today, he almost certainly would lose, according to the data that we've all been consuming. And so the convention next week is his best opportunity right now to try to reframe this race, to try to remind voters of why they might be inclined to support him for a second term. Talking to Republican strategists today, they say the best thing the president can do is focus on the economic record before the pandemic and try to make the case to voters that he is better equipped than Biden to rebuild the economy, to keep regulations loose, to try to help job growth, and to look for ways to add to his coalition. Instead of focusing on grievances, instead of riling up his base, look for ways to bring people back into the fold. We saw that strategy play out on the Democratic side, where there was a real effort this week to expand the tent, so to speak. And we'll see if Trump tries to do that next week.
Hallie, we have about 20 seconds. Just to clear up all the reporting rumors out there, is Vice President Pence safe on the ticket?
Yeah, plans are in the works. He's going to give that speech, and he's the guy who's going to be giving the remarks on Wednesday evening up at Fort McHenry in Baltimore, Bob.
I just wanted to check with one of the top reporters in the country, because I have heard it from some Republicans, but we'll take Hallie Jackson's word for it.